What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Devil's Details Diecast Wastelands series. Today we are working on a Matchbox International armored truck. Seems to be when Matchbox does a metal base, they do a plastic top, which is interesting. Today, as you saw from the title, we are turning this armored truck into a storm tracker. Haven't done this yet. I was watching Kong vs. Godzilla the other day, and the van the kids use in there is like an old storm tracker van, and I instantly got the idea to do a storm tracker for the Wastelands. Haven't seen one of those yet, at least to my knowledge, and I figured be a good idea. You know, somebody's got to keep track of the dust storms and the changing weather patterns and the craziness of the apocalypse, and why not have a guy out there with a bunch of radar and weather balloons maybe, and some communications devices and all kinds of doodads on top of the truck. And I had this armored truck, and what better vehicle to do that in than an armored truck, because obviously it's got all the bulletproof glass and the heavy armor and the heavy tires. Of course, we'll change these tires out for something a little more sturdy. And yeah, what better to drive into the middle of a dust storm with than an armored truck? So, got some tricks up my sleeve for this one, as always, so stick around. Should be a fun build, as always, and we'll get moving. So, onward and upward into the mouth of the storm. Stick around. Alright, so as a little update, we got the base out of the stripper. Even though this is a Wastelands, I still wanted to strip the base, start fresh here, and went through my 3D printed parts and found some tank treads and thought this would be perfect for a storm tracker, get over any terrain, and pretty cool on an armored truck. So at first I was just going to glue them to the bottom of the chassis, because again, we can kind of suspend a little bit of realism in the Wastelands builds. But then I thought, you know, the devil's in the details, and if I'm going to stand true to my name, you can't put tracks directly on a chassis, because obviously they're not going to spin when they're connected to a chassis. So I started building with styrene, and I was going to build up the base of the chassis here and try to build it up high enough. You can see these have a little bit of a hole in them, which fits piano wire, and I was going to try to build them up here. And then I looked over at the windshield and the glass on the inside of the armored car, which I never use. Well, I shouldn't say never, but I rarely use the glass, because I usually put mesh, or in this case I'm going to put some styrene as far as some armored windows, since it is a storm chaser. And I said, well, I'm not going to use the interior glass, and hollowed it out, took out all the the interior hang down pieces, and here I have one of the treads glued down, and I took out my little pin vise drill here, drilled out 2 holes. Not that I really need to put an axle in it, but I want to put a little piece of piano wire in there just to have, you know, some wires at the edges there to make it look a little more realistic. And then we're going to flip it upside down and put it on the base. So now we're going to get our clearance. And of course it's going to be painted black and whatnot, so you're not going to notice that it's a windshield part. And we'll cut a little channel for the transmission there, so it'll sit flush, and that'll give us our height without much hemming and hawing, as Keith likes to say over at Outlaw Speed Shop. That'll give us our height for our treads to spin, and then we'll obviously get some wheels for the front. That's not going to stay because it's uneven, but we'll put some big knobby tires on the front. If you guys that do Wastelands or Gaslands builds, these are a good chance to use up your cheapy Hot Wheels and Matchbox crappy truck tires that you might throw away or whatnot. Save them for these builds, because these builds, you know, you don't really need to get all fancy. I know I like to use the King of Crunch tires and stuff like that for these builds, and you know, it can get expensive doing that, but I save a lot of my junk wheels. You know, like these. I don't know what this came off. This might have came off a dollar store truck, actually. Or maybe a Jada Toys truck, I'm not sure. But save your bigger wheels for the Gaslands and Wastelands builds. Once you muddy them up and dirty them up, nobody even really cares what they look like. So, in any event, we're going to get on to building the rest of these tracks. And we'll check in when that's finished. And if you remember, this is what we started with. The Matchbox International Armored Truck. The kind of pink metal base and plastic top. Really nice casting, actually. And here's what we came up with. Here we have the Tracker Wastelands build. Officially done. Of course, we have the skull on the front, the LED light bar to see through those dust storms. Big tank track treads on the back, huge wheels on the front. I felt this was kind of like some weather material. I don't know, like you see some of these kind of like on like insulation or space shuttle kind of stuff. I don't know. I just felt it felt weathery weathery to me, if that's a word. As you can see on the top, we have multiple radar dishes to collect data. We got the 4-way antennas. This here is a train horn. It can blast out in case you get stuck somewhere out in the blinding storm. It can signal someone. Spare propane or gas tank on the back there to run all the equipment that's in the inside. Got some wiring there for the radar dishes. Got a little tornado on the side. Show that he is a tracker. Shovel on the front, again, in case he gets stuck. I don't think there's much he's going to get stuck on with these tank treads. It's kind of got a negative rake. I figure the treads can push them forward and the front wheels can clear, you know, higher obstacles, and then the tank treads can kind of take over, you know, propel them forward. Of course, the tank treads don't roll because it's a 3D printed part, but you guys kind of get the idea, I hope. And there's the bottom with that leftover windshield glass that I cut open to get the height. Obligatory skull for my Wastelands build. All the 3D printed parts are mostly from Chuck at Flying Valiant. These radar dishes, it's kind of funny. These are actually speaker grills and speakers that Grizz over at Bearcat 3D Designs had printed for me for Keith's 1/24 scale build that I did for him on his birthday. I had some leftover pieces, and I said, you know, oh, those look pretty cool as radar dishes. These are actually some smaller sizes that he gave me, 2 different sizes. So that actually worked out pretty well. And then on the top there, he's got an oil drum, a jerry can, and a toolbox, just in case he needs those tools. Did some armor over the windows, did some mesh on the inside. And that's pretty much it. As always, this Wastelands build will be up on eBay. Link is in the description below. If you'd like to own this, bidding usually starts around $9.99. And normally doesn't go too high, so you can get this car here. It's part of your Wastelands collection. Usually for around $10-15 if you're interested. So click on the link down below, and we'll catch you on the next build. Be well. Thank you.